Namaskar. Today is a very special episode for me. It's a very special episode for me because, this morning I got a SMS from a person in ICU fighting COVID. I got an SMS from Vinod ji saying, Sujit, congratulations, we won the Supreme Court case. I could literally imagine what and how he must be reacting. I could literally imagine his joy. I could literally imagine the pride in which he must have sent me this SMS. I can literally imagine that. Honestly, I knew about this a little early. I came to know about it a little early. But it was a pleasure getting this message from Vinod ji. Because today, let me tell you what Vinod Dua and what we at HW News Network went through for the last 1 year since we were fighting this sedition case. Let's get right into the show. Like I said, today's editorial is slightly emotional. So excuse me if my thought process goes a little haywire. Please excuse me. But all the same. 2020 was possibly one of the worst years in my life and a lot of us in HW. And I know it is possibly the worst year for a lot of people in this world. COVID at one end, lockdown at the other, economic losses at another end, cash crunch. And that's when there was an FIR against our consultant editor, Sri Vinod Dua. This FIR was in Delhi and the FIR was for communal violence, or he was promoting communal violence. That was the FIR, I remember. We went to the Delhi High Court to quash the case. We were fighting that case. On June 11th, I remember June 11th, we were told that there is another FIR. We didn't see the FIR by then. We were told that there's another FIR. This FIR was filed by another BJP worker in Himachal Pradesh. And this FIR was for sedition. Sedition means Desh Droha. We were all worried. All of us. Desh Droha. I remember we started our battle. We approached the Supreme Court. The Honorable Supreme Court took up the case and the battle started. And whenever the case hearing would come, we would all sit and try and view channels like Live Law and Bar and Bench and figure out what exactly is happening, word to word, verbatim. Senior advocate Mahesh Jetmalani contended before Supreme Court that journalist Vinod Dua was justifying pelting stones of a certain community on doctors and nurses during the corona pandemic. This is what Mahesh Jetmalani, who is now nominated as a member of parliament, was praying to the court that Mr. Vinod Dua actually supported, justified people pelting stones at doctors. He argued that Mr. Dua tried to dissuade people from going to quarantine centers by calling them detention center. So everything, he said, he was promoting, justifying people who were throwing stones, stopping people from getting into quarantine centers, trying to incite violence and riots, because saying that, there'll be no food and so on and so forth. He also added, Jetmalani also added that it was incorrect reporting on the migrant labor situation during the pandemic, which was violation of the rules of press council. I know Mr. Vinod Dua, and today I say this with absolute pride. I know Mr. Vinod Dua, and I know it hurt him when somebody constantly kept on telling him that he was going against his country, because he is possibly the last person who would ever do that. He was the last person who would ever do that. I know very few people who love this country as much as Vinod Dua does. And the chances are, the way he talks because he loves this country. Believe me, it's a fact. I know the man. Every time all these allegations would happen, it would hurt him. I used to speak to him and I could make out that it was hurting him. It was hurting him within. It hurted each one of us in HW News Network, is because that is not what HW News Network is. It's our platform. All this was said from our platform is what was alleged. Each one of us, it hurt. Because somewhere down the line, the reason why we have this channel is because we love our country. And the last thing we will ever do in our lives is to go against it or do anything that may harm this country. We take risks. We speak things out which possibly harms, hurts, angers a lot of people. It's because we want to see a society that is conducive. We feel what is certain things that are happening is not correct. So we talk about it. That's our job. But the moment that is taken in, that we are accused of being anti-national, and so many people accused us, oh God, so many people accused us of being anti-national and promoting a particular community or promoting violence. So many people accused us. And I know, like I said, I know every word of this hurt Vinod very badly. It hurt him. While he kept a brave face, while he came and he gave his Vinod Dua show day after day without any fear or favor. He did the same way which he did before. He did that. You know, we were fighting pandemic at one point. We were fighting absolute lack of money at another. And we were raided. 2 lawsuits, 1 raid, no much money, but we kept going. We kept going. That's why I said possibly it was one of the worst years of our lives. The fact that justice prevailed made the whole fight, the whole torment that we suffered, worthwhile. We are so very grateful for the Supreme Court to quote the 1962 verdict. Okay, let me tell you about the 1962 verdict which the court referred to and how it will help journalists now. 1962 case this court was referring to was a case called Kedarnath Singh versus State of Bihar. And the judgment was that the court said that since the offense of sedition is constituted only when words spoken have the tendency or intention to create disorder or disturb peace by resorting to violence. This is a constitutionally valid restriction on the right of freedom of expression, because the state may restrict speech in the interest of protecting public order. Just because he spoke about a government, just because he didn't agree to the policy of the government, or just because somebody says that, I think this action of the government may have a problem in the future, doesn't make sedition. That's what the court said. And Supreme Court went on to add that every journalist will be entitled to the protection under the Kedarnath Singh judgment on sedition. The court said every journalist can actually be protected, is entitled to be protected under the Kedarnath Singh judgment of sedition. I genuinely hope and pray that a lot of other scribes, a lot of other journalists who are languishing in jails, they get a respite to this. This judgment of Vinod Dua is taken as a precedence, and somewhere down the line, somehow, the journalist feels a little more safer, and a little more bolder to talk what they think is right. Till I see you next time. Namaskar.